Liverpool spent £446 million in the summer, and somehow they've got worse. But to understand why this has happened, we firstly need to look back at last season and understand why Slot's tactics were so successful back then. Then we can look at this season and see what changes have occurred to cause this huge fall off. And then finally, I'm going to tell you what I think Liverpool should do in order to get back to being a successful winning side. So, what tactics did Liverpool use last season that was so successful? Last season, Slot lined up in a 4-2-3-1, using Luis Diaz up front as kind of a false 9 profile. Therefore, often we'd see him drop into the midfield, and there'd be really fluid rotations between the likes of him, McAllister, and Szoboszlai. And this is really important because it will create the space up front for Mo Salah to make these diagonal runs towards the box, something that Liverpool relied a lot on last season. And the data backs this up. Liverpool's strategy was clear: get the ball to Mo Salah at all costs, whether that's through a slow possession-based build-up that ends with Mo Salah having the shot, or a direct long ball over the top to Mo Salah. Everything ended with Salah, and it worked, right? He scored 29 goals last season and got 18 assists. That's probably the best single season ever in the Premier League. He was absolutely phenomenal, but he could achieve this because of the way Slot set the system up around him. Mo Salah had the most shots in the league with 130. He received the most progressive passes out of any winger in the Premier League. The system was completely built around him for Mo Salah to thrive. The other key building block of this system was Trent Alexander-Arnold. So often last season we'd see him bomb down that right side, get into really dangerous crossing positions, and put in some beautiful passes into the likes of Mo Salah. In fact, no other Liverpool player ranked higher than Trent Alexander-Arnold for expected assists per 90 in the Premier League last season. Not even Mo Salah, who had 18 assists. Therefore, it's clear that Trent was Liverpool's best creative player. Hence, the system was built to do two things. Firstly, get Mo Salah into lots of shooting positions, like we talked about earlier, but also get Trent Alexander-Arnold in lots of dangerous crossing positions. And this game against Newcastle last season is a fantastic example of this. Look at the position of Trent Alexander-Arnold here. He's really high and really wide, and this allows Mo Salah to drift in from the right wing into that really dangerous inside forward position inside the box, where we know he scores so many goals from. McAllister then finds a great pass through to Trent Alexander-Arnold, and this is where he shows his quality. Instead of just putting the ball into a dangerous area inside the box like so many players would, he picks out a pass. He picks out Mo Salah in the box, and then Salah does what he does best and slaps it into the net. And this combination was really, really dangerous for Liverpool last season. So now we understand the tactics Liverpool used to win the Premier League last season, we can begin to look at the changes that have occurred this season. And you have to start with the summer transfer window because that is where most of the major changes happen. Liverpool brought in Florian Wirtz, Kerkez Frimpong, Hugo Ekitike, and Alexander Isak for a combined total of about £420 million. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Luis Diaz both left the club. And obviously all these changes impact the balance of the team massively. One of the two main building blocks of your system, your best creator, Trent, leaving the club, means you have to completely change your system, unless you can find another right back that can create chances at the same volume Trent could, which I tell you right now, you can't do because the player like that just doesn't exist. Therefore, Liverpool brought in Florian Wirtz to try and replace Trent Alexander's creativity. But the changes don't stop there, because with Isak coming in, there's now a conflict over whose team this is. Arne Slot clearly wants to pivot away from the team being built around Mo Salah to it now being built around his big money strikers, Isak and Ekitike. And for me, having Salah in the team when the system isn't completely built around him and therefore his output isn't that high is actually a bad thing. I think he's a negative effect because of his lack of defensive work. Salah will almost never track the fullback back, and Chelsea, for example, exploited this really well because they knew Salah would never track Cucurella. Therefore, they just continuously pushed Cucurella up past Salah into the midfield, where Liverpool were already overloaded 3-2, but by adding Cucurella to that, they made it a 4v2, giving them complete control of the midfield and allowing them to dominate the game. And you can see it happen for this goal. Liverpool are set up in their 4-2-4 defensive structure, and Gravenberch jumps up onto Enzo Fernandez. This gives Chelsea a 2v1 against McAllister, and they exploit this through an easy third-man bounce to make the ball end up with Caicedo, who's driving into space. But look at Cucurella here. He's just walked past Mo Salah into the midfield so easily, and he doesn't actually affect the game here in the end because Caicedo decides to shoot and score. score. But let's just say Caicedo didn't shoot. Cucurella would then be in a really dangerous attacking position, and Chelsea would have a 2v1 on Conor Bradley because Mo Salah didn't track back. And you can see this shift in dynamics in the data. Remember last season, Salah had the most shots in the league. If we look at this season, he sits 15th, and there's 2 Liverpool players above him, both Gakpo and Ekitike. But why has this happened? Well, the answer is simple. Slot has shifted the dynamics of the team away from Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold to it now being built around Wirtz and Ekitike, built around going down that left-hand side. And we can see this from Newcastle's most recent game. If we look at this concentration map, most of Liverpool's play is going down the left-hand side. Almost nothing is down the right. And if we compare this to the same fixture against Newcastle last season, we can see a much higher concentration of play coming down that right wing. And these changing dynamics have led to Liverpool creating far fewer chances because it's hard for them to get Wirtz on the ball. He plays higher up the pitch than Trent did. He plays in tighter spaces than Trent did. And overall, it's far more difficult to get Wirtz in dangerous positions than it was to get Trent in dangerous crossing positions. And this has led to a massive drop in creativity. Florian Wirtz has only averaged 0.21 XA per 90 this season, putting him 21st in the Premier League. That's a massive downgrade from Trent Alexander-Arnold, who ranks 6th for this statistic. Additionally, having Wirtz in the midfield has hurt Liverpool out of possession as well. I think last season they found a really nice balance with Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai. All of them were athletic players, they were all good off the ball, and this led to Liverpool having a really strong midfield. They were really good in the press, but by bringing Wirtz into that, you have to take one of those guys out, and Wirtz cannot bring the same level off the ball that any of those 3 did. And when you combine that factor with McAllister losing his legs a bit, becoming a bit worse out of possession, Liverpool now have a really weak midfield that teams can play through easily. This problem has led to Slot moving away from the 4-2-3-1 recently, now to the 4-2-2-2. This allows him to play 4 midfielders at the same time, really pack the centre of the pitch with lots of bodies, therefore fixing the out of possession problem we just talked about. However, this formation brings new problems because by having 4 midfielders on the pitch, you now have no wingers, meaning your fullbacks have to hold the width out of possession, meaning both Frimpong and Kerkez now have to take up really high positions in the attack. Liverpool's final third formation looks like a 2-2-2-4 at times, which is really aggressive. Obviously, the issue with this system is the counterattacks. By having your fullbacks in such advanced positions, you leave tons of space behind them out wide, which can easily be exploited on transition. And this is something we saw Bournemouth take advantage of during their 3-2 win. Here you can see Hill on the ball in midfield, and all he has to do is play a through ball into the space behind Kirk as he's trying to recover, and Jimenez can run onto that pass and score a really good goal with a nice finish. But this is how easy it is to score against Slot's new tactics. They are so exposed in those wide areas. It's so clear that Slot, while trying to prevent other problems, has just caused new problems that are arguably even worse. So what do I think Liverpool should do to fix these problems? Well, I'd sack Arne Slot in the summer and bring in Xabi Alonso, because I think this Liverpool squad, with the addition of Jeremy Jacquet in the summer, is set up perfectly to play a back 3, the exact system Xabi Alonso used at Leverkusen to great success when he had both Frimpong and Florian Wirtz in the team, and they were world class under Alonso. Plus, I think Kerkez is another player like Frimpong who would really benefit from playing in the wing back role. They could be high up the pitch like we see them doing at the moment, while not having to worry about the defensive space behind them, because the back 3 is there to give you defensive security. This system would also allow Florian Wirtz to play in the exact same role he did at Leverkusen, hopefully meaning he could replicate his form at Leverkusen where he was world class at Liverpool. I think the only issue with this system is initially it doesn't look like Liverpool have a player that could play that right forward role. However, if we look at who did that for Leverkusen, it was Hoffman, and if we look at his heat map, we can see that a lot of the work he did was actually dropping into midfield. He wasn't really an attacking player, therefore I think Liverpool actually do have a player that could do this. I think Szoboszlai would fit this role perfectly, being that more advanced player, allowing him to show his creativity, but also playing in midfield where we know he's so effective. In fact, I think the only player Liverpool would have to buy for this system is your Granit Xhaka. They need that metronomic passer in the midfield, which they don't have at the moment. And the most sensible option here is Adam Wharton from Crystal Palace. This guy's a great passer of the ball. He can control the tempo of the game really nicely because of this, and I think he's an ideal midfield partner for Ryan Gravenberch. I think they complement each other really well because Adam Wharton is also really effective in the final third. He's quite a creative player. He ranks 4th for big chances created for midfielders in the Premier League, and he completes 3.39 progressive passes per 90 so far this season, despite playing for a Crystal Palace team that ranks 16th for possession. Adam Wharton's basically the perfect signing for Liverpool, even if they don't implement this system. So, This is what I think Liverpool should look like next season under Xabi Alonso. Do you agree with these changes to fix Liverpool's current problems, or do you think they should do something different and maybe stick with Arne Slot? Let me know in the comments down below.